This is going to be a breakdown of our standard Model C type relief valve, buckling pin valve. As you can see, this is our inlet, this is our outlet. We're going to, at this point, assume that this valve has been locked out, tagged out, and there is completely out of service. No pressure is applied to this valve. First thing we're going to do is we're going to use our hands or a crescent wrench if the valve has been or the pin's been installed for a while to crack that top nut. We're going to pull it off, pull this pin out, and simply so we don't lose this top nut, we're going to go ahead and thread it back in. At this point, we're ready to disassemble the valve. Notice how you do not need to take the valve out of service to get to the insides of this valve to service these soft goods. We've got a row of bolts along the bottom of this bonnet. This is what we refer to as the bonnet assembly. We do have a lot of customers that will start from the top down. They'll go ahead and start undoing these bolts up here. In order to maintain the integrity of this valve and the set pressure of the pin, we want to make sure that this top plate and this bottom plate always remain exactly perpendicular. It's for that reason that if we don't have to take this entire thing apart, let's not do that. So let's start with these bottom row of bolts. We'll take these off, if you give me just a second. The larger the valve, obviously, the greater the amount of bolts that need to be taken care of. I've got my bolts off. At this point, I'm going to be able to lift this entire bonnet assembly off in one piece. I may need to wiggle it back and forth. And oftentimes, when we're pulling this out, I give caution to the folks in the field that are dealing with these. You can sometimes lift the piston up with it. And so if we're pulling it off and over, we need to be careful that that piston doesn't drop out on you, that it's protected, and that everyone's feet are protected as well. So we're going to set it off to the side. We will reinstall that as is. You notice that this also will come with an O-ring at times here, and sometimes on the ID here. On the larger style valves, we do have instances where there is a guide bushing on the bottom of this bonnet plate, and that sometimes has a snap ring that needs to be pulled off and can be pulled out from underneath, or sometimes in the larger valves it's going to have another row of bolts as well that you will need to take off with O-rings as well. At this point, we're going to pull out the only moving part in this valve, which happens to be this piston. We're going to pull it out. We're going to clean everything off, put new O-rings on, relubricate. And you notice on the inside of the valve, on the seat area there, we're going to make sure that that seat area is clean and free from scratches or any processed media. After I've had a chance to degrease everything, put all new soft goods on per the IOM, we're going to relubricate everything and reinstall in the following order. Put our piston down on seat, reinstall our bonnet assembly, reinstall our bolts on the bottom of the bonnet, when doing so, we do have in our IOMs specific torque values for all of the bolts on the valve. We need to make sure that we are doing that. No, I am not. Now we are ready to reinstall our pin. Top nut comes off. Use your thumb or a light rubber mallet. Make sure that that piston is fully on seat. We're going to put this pin back in. Pin is bidirectional. It does not matter which direction is up. And we're going to bottom out this top nut on the top of the valve. That's, in its simplest form, a rebuild of our Model C buckling pin valve.